Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Green Lantern Beware My Power. I cannot express how disappointed and frustrated and upset I am at this animated movie. Like before, when this movie came out, I saw a couple of reviews and all of them were bad. And I'm just like, no, please don't be a bad movie. I'm like, maybe it could be like that other animated movie that everybody hated, but I liked. So then I finally watched this. And after watching this, I am not even joking. It took me 3 days to finish a 75-minute movie. What in the world? That has never happened to me before, especially when it's a new movie out. And the movie's only 75 minutes. It is very short. Like, it's one of the shortest DC animated full-length movies there is. This might be just the shortest. I'm not talking about like the actual shorts or like, the short film things they do. This is actually like the showcase stuff. This is actually a full-length movie and it is short. And I could not believe it. And honestly, not much of nothing happens. And the most disappointing thing is the person who wrote this, John Schemper. I had literally made a video praising that man earlier this year because he created Spider-Man the animated series, and a lot of stuff that happened in Spider-Man the animated series later translated into all of the live action Spider-Man movies. And I'm just like, dude, what the world happened? Because you're a great creator and stuff. Now, if you're thinking this movie is going to focus around the central character of John Stewart, well, you're wrong. I am allergic to bad writing. Achoo. And, I don't like sneezing and coughing all the time. And it really pains me to have to be ill from bad writing. You can drink that expired milk after its due date, but after a while, that bitter taste ain't gonna go away. You know what I'm saying? And you might start like spitting up chunks and stuff. It's a Green Lantern movie about John Stewart, but it's not even about John Stewart. This is literally, I'm not even trying to be mean. This is like not only one of the worst movies I've ever seen, it's one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen. It's one of the worst Green Lantern animated movies I've ever seen. And it's one of the worst John Stewart anything I've ever seen. And I'm a huge John Stewart fan. He is my favorite Green Lantern because of the Justice League series. That was the first one I've ever seen. And I remember when the Justice League cartoon came out, people was mad it wasn't Hal or it wasn't Rainer. And because, I get why they was mad it wasn't Hal, because he is technically the first. And so, but they didn't get mad about the whole Wally West thing. So I don't understand that. But anyway, he was the first Green Lantern I've ever seen, and he was cool on the Justice League show. And so I've been wanting to see him in an animated movie for the longest time, and not just that of a cameo. And the only other time I've ever seen him is on Static Shock, the same version, but the only different version I've ever seen was in this Looney Tune thing with Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, and they did a Green Lantern thing. That was more cool than this movie. And then I saw him in Young Justice, where he just has a minor role. And, a lot of people, when I kept seeing the review talking about, oh, they did Hal dirty, they did Hal dirty. No, they did everybody wrong in this movie, except for Green Arrow. That's the only cool person in this entire movie. But this is so weird because every animated Green Lantern type project that's ever came out, I have liked. I liked the Justice League show when they had Green Lantern in the solo episodes. The two animated Green Lantern movies they came out with, I love the Green Lantern animated series. I just don't like the theatrical live action movie of Green Lantern. But other than that, I've always liked everything they produce, except for this. And one of the reasons why I hate this is because it's part of the Tomorrowverse, which I am now finally going to make a video on. I just can't take it no more. I don't like the Tomorrowverse. But much on that, much later. And so if the movie doesn't focus on John Stewart, the actual Green Lantern, it's supposed to, then who does it really kind of focus on? Well, that's kind of up for debate. It kind of focuses on Hawk Girl and that of Adam Strange. So it's a bit of a switcheroo. And so, like, speaking of like Adam Strange, why has he been popping up a lot lately? I've noticed. Like, he was in Young Justice back in season 2 many years ago, and then he disappeared. Then he reappeared again in the Krypton short-lived TV show. And then he popped up again in an animated short for the Tomorrowverse. And now he popped up in this. I don't get the appeal of Adam Strange. I just don't like that dude. He just doesn't do anything for me. So I don't know why he constantly keeps popping up. Also, this is one of the worst Hawk Girls I've ever seen in ever. And stuff. Even the one on Legends of Tomorrow was better than this. And it's just so odd and so strange. I don't get how they got all these characters wrong. And the thing is like, there are far too many characters in this movie. And characters who should not even be in here. The Justice League have no business being in here. You only need one real villain, or maybe two at the most. You don't need this many people. And it's too crowded. And that's how the Tomorrowverse has been lately. It's just been movies that are too crowded. This movie should have just focused on Jon Stewart and Jon Stewart alone, and it did not. I still hate the animation. I do not like the Tomorrowverse animation. It looks flat. It looks dull. It looks like cartoon cardboard cutouts. People barely have any expression on their faces. The action is lackluster, and there's not even much action in it. And when he does use his ring, he uses it at a minimum. And so I don't get this, because like in the first 5 minutes, it did focus on Jon Stewart. His depression, his PTSD, he's a former military soldier. And then all of a sudden he gets the ring, and he gets it kind of the same way Hal does in like his origin. And so it's slightly different. It's a Guardian, he gives him the ring, the Guardian dies, and then he becomes a Green Lantern. And so then he needs help on being taught how to use the ring. So it takes him to that of the Justice League. Because the ring in this is kind of sentient, kind of like an AI system. And so it takes him there, and then the Justice League get pissed. They're like, who are you? Where is Hal? And then he tells them what happened. And then so they take him to Oa and everything so he can be trained. But Oa is destroyed. And so while we see him flying around and this and that, the ring is teaching him how to use the ring. Well, if the ring could do that all along, why did it take him to the Justice League? See, that makes no sense. And so, like, I've always wanted a Jon Stewart live action movie. I've always wanted an animated movie. I always thought it would be great to do what Justice League, the series did, was, you know, reinvent him as a military soldier, give him a little PTSD. Maybe he was a coward, and then for whatever reason, the ring comes on him. The Guardians train him. They put him on a training like type thing, and then, you know, crazy stuff happens. There's a war breaking out. And he has to finally get the strength he needs to overcome his fears and start using the ring, and then he helps in the war. That would have been a great movie. This movie is kind of like that, but just worse. They try to take a realistic live action approach to this movie, and it's not working for me. I think that's the problem with the whole Tomorrowverse. They're trying to make animation into live action, and it's just not working. And so, like, basically, you know, it's him and Green Lantern, they flying around space. They meet Hawk Girl and everything. This version of Hawk Girl, if you ever watch Star Trek, The Next Generation and Worf, she's kind of like that, but more dopey in the head. She's more like, I, warrior, I smash you in the head, and all this. Like, it's kind of like that, you know what I'm saying? And it's just strange because she's so much better than that. And no, not in the worst part of it all, for Jon Stewart, he wears this outfit the entire time in the movie, and he's wearing his Green Lantern outfit underneath his clothes. So he has regular pants on, his uniform that's acting as a shirt, and then he has this jacket over his uniform. So you barely see his uniform. When does he actually get to be in the uniform? At the very end of the movie. And I'm just like, dude, he's a Green Lantern. He's not even representing his Green Lantern uniform because the movie's not even really based on him. And so, like, the whole time while he's interacting with Hot Girl and then later Adam Strange, because she's all like, "Oh, your people started the war," and he's like, "No." It turns out Sinestro started the war. He just disguised himself to look like, the different types of alien races that started the war. So then they're like, "Oh, that must have been what it is." So now they have to go to Adam Strange people and tell them, because they have a giant, like, space nuke type thing, and they have to stop them from using it. And so, like, once again, it's not even dealing with Jon Stewart. He's not even the one talking to people down out of war. He's not even the one convincing them that, war is bad. He's not. It's just terrible, man. So they go over there, and people are all like, "We don't believe you." And they're like, "It's true." It's like Sinestro has disguised himself. They're like, "Oh, we didn't even think about scanning the ship." And so then the alien people believe them within seconds. And it's like, what? So y'all been at war for a very long time. And then within a couple of seconds, y'all like, oh, okay, we must have been wrong and everything. And so when in the facility of Sinestro, pretty much every Green Lantern villain from the comics show up as part of his core. And Sinestro is underutilized in this movie. He's not even really a villain and stuff. He is, but he's barely in the movie. He's barely like bad and stuff. And then we find out when we find Hal. Hal's been taken captive. And so Hal escapes with the group. And then it's revealed that Hal has been acting a little weird. Every time he has to escape, every time he has to fight aliens, he just murders them straight up. And Green Arrow is kind of like, dude, you don't do this stuff, so what's wrong with you? And then it's revealed that pissed a lot of fanboys off. And basically what it is that Hal Jordan is parallax. We get to see the rings all along his fingers, comic book accurate, and he's parallax. Why? Because a parasite that Sinestro had in his mouth is like, went inside Hal and it brainwashed him. So at least he's brainwashed, but still. The whole Parallax thing was one of the things that pissed so many DC fans off. I'm surprised they decided to do it for this. And so we see he is actually the main bad guy of the movie, and he's the one who runs the yellow core and everything, and crop or whatever you call it. And so, oh, by the way, all the Green Lanterns are dead. And so, like, basically there's a big battle, and then the heroes prevail and everything. And I'm just kind of like, I stop and I ask myself, what was the point of this movie? What was the point in bringing in Green Lantern Jon Stewart if it's not even really his movie and everything? And I just don't get that. If you wanted to make a Hot Girl movie and an Adam Strange movie, do that. But of course, nobody would probably go and watch that probably. And so this is the problem with DC. They don't trust their heroes. It's always Trinity or always the Justice League. I've noticed this for a very long time. Back in the day when they made a Supergirl movie, they brought in Trinity. A long time ago when they wanted to make another Supergirl movie, they brought in Superman. When they wanted to make a Flash movie, they brought in the Justice League. When they made another Flash movie, they brought in the Justice Society. And I've noticed that. So when they brought in the Justice League Dark, they brought in Batman. When they brought in Jon Stewart, they brought in the Justice League. And I'm just kind of like, let these heroes flourish on their own. Give them a chance. You don't need Trinity in the Justice League to make them like a successful movie. And the Tomorrowverse, ever since that Aquaman animated movie from back in the day, sales have been down. They have gotten into like the 2000s and stuff. They not even making that much money off these movies and stuff. 20,000, I meant to say. Heck, maybe it might be 2,000, but no, it's like 20,000. But these movies used to do really good. These movies used to be steady in like say the 70,000, 60,000 range, and now they're going into the 40s and the 20,000 range, and it's kind of sad. It's been a decline ever since they did that whole New 52 thing in the animated movies, and and it's just getting worse and worse. And so my main problem with this is the lack of action. The animation is very like stiff and very bland. The acting, the dude who does Jon Stewart, he's the same guy from Hawkman from the live action Black Adam movie. He sounds fine, but he sounds like he should be in the 1970s, like a smooth black man, you know what I'm saying? And everybody else, like they got another person who once voiced Hal, so he's fine. The dude who voices Green Arrow is fine. But everybody else is just kind of miscast and everything. And that's something that's been happening a lot in the Tomorrowverse. A lot of people are miscast. The story is bland and very boring. You basically spend the entire movie on a spacecraft just flying through space and a whole lot of talking and a whole lot of arguing and stuff like that. And it's sad because the rest of the lanterns aren't really in this movie. They die. Jon Stewart isn't even the main focus. I don't get that. If he's the main person of this movie and on the posters and on the DVD and everything, and it's supposed to be about him, then why isn't it about him? His whole PTSD thing, that goes away after those first 5 minutes. It should have focused on Jon Stewart. It should have focused on his fears and him being unable to wield the ring. And not only that, but he doesn't even want the ring. Throughout the entire movie, he doesn't want it. And then halfway into the movie, towards the end, all of a sudden now he wants it. And even Green Arrow's all like, I thought you didn't want that thing. He's like, yeah, whatever. And it's just kind of like, they did not write this movie proper. It's very, very messy. You should never buy this on DVD. You should buy this on, if you have HBO Max, just watch it there. Don't buy it on digital. Don't buy this movie. It's not very good. And it's embarrassing, to tell you the truth. And I'm embarrassed that I watched it. And I don't get it because, like, okay, ever since towards the end of the New 52 reign and stuff, they've been doing like their own original stuff, or they've been pulling from older comics. Even in the Tomorrowverse, a lot of those movies are actually original movies, but some of them are actually based on comics, older comics. This movie is based on at least 2 or 3 different old versions of Green Lantern comics, and they completely butchered it. And I don't get it. It's like, why couldn't this just focus on John? Why couldn't this focus on him overcoming his fears? Why couldn't this focus on him training to be the best Green Lantern there is? I remember when Bruce Timm said a long time ago, he always liked Jon Stewart because he was always proud to be a Green Lantern, and he never wore a mask. Once he had that mask, he took it off and he decided to show his face because he was proud. Not only that, but he doesn't really make constructs that much. He just makes light beam energy. In this movie, this dude doesn't even wear his uniform, isn't proud to be a Green Lantern, and makes constructs all the time. And his constructs aren't even that impressive. And that has to do with the animation. I don't know what the world kind of animation they're using, but sometimes it looks a little bit like Flash animation and just cheap, run-of-the-mill, doing it on the computer stuff. It's very, very lackluster. And I don't get it. And I don't get the whole Tomorrowverse. The Justice League was supposed to start forming after the Superman movie, and a little bit in the Batman movie, and a little bit in the Flash movie. Now the Justice League is fully formed and everything off screen. Again, they did that same crap in the other New 52 movies and stuff after they were slowly building it. And it's kind of like we didn't even get to see the formation of that. So what's the point? And there's supposed to be more Tomorrowverse movies coming out. And I'm scared they're gonna be boring. It's another Superman movie coming out and another Batman movie again. They won't leave Trinity alone. They just keep going back to the well. And sometimes I wonder if this movie was sabotaged just to be bad so they can keep pushing Trinity and everything. Either way, this movie just wasn't good. And it's quite a shame to see Hawk Girl treated the way she was in this movie, because I really like Hawk Girl from the Justice League cartoon. She was awesome. This version just seemed like an idiot warrior and stuff. Always talking about, we must kill and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I just don't get it. I really don't get how they dropped the ball so bad in this movie. And when I say they dropped the ball, my God, like so many people hate this movie. And now I see why. Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.